Hey, thanks for making it to Veterans Info Tap. I'm glad you made it. May 19th is the date that the VA will eliminate the current rating schedule for digestive system and replace it with a new one. Now, there's a lot of good information in the new one. However, GIrd may be a different story. And how can you preserve today's rating schedule while you get your information together for GIrd? In addition, I'm going to talk to you about how you could potentially get service connected for GIrd if you do not have the appropriate medical diagnosis during your service. You're lacking the Nexus. So I'll kind of talk through, you don't have any real Nexus information in your service treatment records. What could you do and how could you kind of set that up? Now, GIrd currently pays out up to 60%. It will change and go up to 80%, but in my opinion, the rating schedule coming is a much more narrow pathway to any significant rating. It's got to be a very severe situation with GIrd that really focuses on esophageal stricture, which is the tightening of the esophagus, along with dilating the esophagus. So now it's tight, they need to drop a balloon down maybe and blow it up, and that's really their main focus, is that type of a situation with regard to GIrd. Moving away from all of the traditional signs and symptoms of GIrd, like heartburn, regurgitation, vomit, pain, substernal pain, that type of stuff. So let's jump into it here. Please hit the thumbs up, subscribe, share with a friend, all that good stuff. I truly appreciate it. I really do. It helps out a lot with getting the reach that we need. Now, this is really important. I'm going to start this off on the GIrd aspect, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to shift into kind of what the changes are going to be. Again, May 19th is the date. In order to preserve the ability, you're not stuck to it, but to preserve the ability of utilizing today's, the prior to May 19th's rating schedule of 2024, you need to put in an intent to file now, or you need to file your claim now. Either way, you are preserving today's date as your effective date, and the VA is then bound to utilize both rating schedules as they determine your rating, and they will give you whatever the higher rating is, which is a good place to be. There's not too many of these windows out there. You have to take advantage of them when you see them. So what I'm going to tell you about here is oftentimes things like migraines and GIrd and other things like that often go undocumented during your time in service, because you can self-treat, right? You can take a handful of Motrin for your migraines. You can take a handful of antacids. You can drink Mylanta. You can sleep standing up, because when you lay down, it all kind of comes up, the acids, and it's pretty horrible. So you can self-treat and you just kind of deal with it. The problem here is that because of that, we often do not document our condition, our symptoms, our signs, get diagnosed. None of those things happen during service. Now, I'm not saying don't take the time to look through your records. Absolutely take the time to look through your records. They might have different form numbers, but I'm going to just explain the form. During your exit, during your enter into the military, and then probably annually through annual physical health assessments, and your exit physical health assessment, you should have had a form that's probably 2 pages long, maybe 3, a form that let you self-attest to any conditions or issues that you may have. Now, in that form, there's a lot of yes and no and not applicable questions. It'll say something at the beginning of it like, have you now or have you ever experienced any of the following? And it'll go on, painful swollen joints, cancer, heart attack, diabetes, tuberculosis, heartburn, migraines, so on and so forth. It keeps going. If you check the box that said heartburn, well, currently, under the current rating schedule for digestive systems for GIrd, it shows that heartburn is a symptom of GIrd. Well, now you have a leg to stand on for your Nexus. You could take that form, and now you have it, right? As part of your evidence. Look, I complained of heartburn. I'm not a doctor. I didn't know it was called GIrd, right? I called it heartburn. So, look through your medical records, see if you find anything. So let's walk you through it so far. File an intent to file. Number 1, that preserves today's date prior to May 19th, 2024 as your effective date. Buys you 12 months of time to get your evidence together to file your claim and preserve that effective date. By preserving that effective date, you get both rating schedules to work from, the prior to May 19th and the May 19th version of the rating schedule. So now you've looked through your medical records. If you don't have them, you can order them with a SF, so Sierra Foxtrot 180. SF 180 is the form. You can order your records. Get your records, review them, see if you see any mention of GIrd, heartburn, anything like that, regurgitation, throw up, vomiting, anything. Now you're going to have to work with the ideal situation at this point is that you had that written in there. If you don't, you move on. What you're going to do now is ideally you are in contact with, or you can get in contact with 1 or 2 or 3 people that you served with. And if you can, that's awesome. Have them write you what we call a buddy statement stating that they have knowledge of you having bouts of bad heartburn, GIrd, gastroesophageal reflux disease, during your time in service. And then, they witnessed you taking hands full of, Tums or whatever, that you'd go to the field, with a big thing of Tums or whatever, right? So they write those letters. Then I would lean on family members. Get 1 or 2 family members that can attest to knowing that you never had any sort of never had any sort of heartburn problems, no signs or symptoms of GIrd, no issues prior to service. And it wasn't until you were serving that you began to exhibit those signs and symptoms of GIrd and eating all the Tums or Rolaids or what have you, drinking Melanta with your dinner. So now you got those letters. Those are your buddy statements. And I like to add in the family member aspect because they knew you before you joined and they can attest to knowing that you didn't have, at least to their knowledge, that you didn't have that condition. So now you have those things taken care of. If you have any documented mention of heartburn or anything like that during your time in service, you can take that with you to your doctor if they want to see it, but you need to ask your doctor for a Nexus letter. Remember, the Nexus letter is to help you establish the Nexus, which is the link between your condition and your time in service. In this case, you're trying to prove that your condition manifested during time in service. Now, you can also look at it as a secondary, maybe GIrd is a secondary to a medication that you're taking currently, right? I'm focused kind of on your service connection as a primary condition at this point. So have them write you the Nexus letter explaining that your condition ideally is most likely is manifested during your time in service, as evidenced by, if you can point back to anything in your record, by mentioning of signs and symptoms during your time in service in your medical records, by mentioning heartburn on whatever form, whatever. And along with statements from service members and family members, most likely manifested during your time in service, blah, 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 signed by whoever. So have them write you that Nexus letter. Now, if you don't have the time and service stuff, well, then you're going to leave that part out and still have them write you that Nexus letter. Now you have that. You're going to write your own statement. You need to write a statement explaining why you did not document your GIrd during your time in service. Pretty simple for most of us, right? don't want to be associated with going to the to sick call, don't want to be associated with being a sick bay warrior or whatever you want to call it, right? So I just dealt with it and self-treated, right? You want to explain, you want the story to all kind of come together and be understandable, right? I didn't have it before I joined. It wasn't until 2 years in that I started getting it, and it just kind of gradually got worse. And I just kind of always had Motrin, or not Motrin, geez, I'm like on a Motrin kick. And I just always had Tums or World-Aids or whatever with me. And explain that you never went to sick call because of the, potential repercussions or what have you. And, it wasn't until later on in life that you realized that it might be something more serious than just heartburn. And so you went to your doctor and you got diagnosed. So now you have your all of your letters done, everything, service members you served with, family members, yourself, all writing letters, your Nexus letter from your doctor, your diagnosis from your doctor. If you have anything in service that mentions heartburn or anything like that, you got that as evidence. Then with all of that, now you have enough to get ready to file that claim. Now the question is where do you fall in the rating schedule? My suggestion is always, if you're upstream enough on this, is pull down the DBQ, the Disability Questionnaire, from the VA's website for digestive systems. In that DBQ are sections for heartburn. Now, you can take that form with you to your doctor and have them complete that form. Now, it's a blank form. It does nothing for you if it doesn't have the right information in it. This is a very important piece. Pull up the schedule of ratings for GIrd today, the pre-May 19th rating schedule. Pull up that rating schedule for GIrd. It's also on lawyer websites and so forth. So make sure that you pull that up, read it for your GIrd. In order to get a 60% rating, it is somewhere in the realm of, I have heartburn, I have regurgitation, I vomit. Sometimes there might be some blood in the vomit. Sometimes there might be blood in the stool. I have kind of chest or substernal pain. I have pain in my arm or shoulder. There's definitely an impairment to my health, because the acids are, coming up and eroding the esophagus, could lead to esophageal cancer one day. So that's kind of what they're looking for a 60% rating. But again, read the schedule of ratings, make sure you have that information with you, and make sure that your doctor embeds that verbiage from the schedule of ratings into your DBQ. That's what the VA is looking for. The form is just the messenger, right? The message is the information from the schedule of ratings. So make sure you utilize that. Now, you're going to file your claim, and you have preserved the rating schedule today, the prior to May 19th. Now, like I said earlier, there are good things that are coming as well. I'm going to read through the VA's announcement of this change to the disability rating schedule and give you a few of their updates, as well as a gentle reminder of what is going on with that rating schedule. So let's transition into that. And I truly hope that folks are able to take advantage of this very, very important time frame in between rating schedule changes. So, updates to VA schedule for rating disabilities. VA updates disability rating schedule for digestive system. This came out March 19th. So they're giving you a 2-month notice is what's happening here. Today, VA announced an update to the VA schedule of rating disability specifically pertaining to digestive conditions. The changes add or modify rating criteria for 55 medical conditions in the rating schedule that incorporate medical advancements for treating certain disabilities and modern medical knowledge to compensate veterans more accurately. The three biggest changes that will impact you, and I disagree because I think GIrd should be on there. The three biggest changes, according to the VA, that will impact you as veterans include the new evaluations for celiac disease, irritable bowel syndrome, and hemorrhoids. Beginning May 19th, 2024. Beginning May 19th, 2024, celiac disease, an autoimmune disorder that impacts how the body processes gluten, will have its own rating criteria specifically designed to address the debilitating effects. Veterans with this condition were previously granted service connection and evaluated using the rating criteria that ranged from a 0 to a 30%. Now, under a new specific diagnostic code, veterans will be eligible for an evaluation rating from 0 to 80%. So celiac is going to jump to an 80% maximum from a 30% maximum. That is huge. The next one, VA will also adjust the rating criteria evaluation for irritable bowel syndrome, also known as IBS. Previously, VA offered a 0, 10, and 30% evaluations for the condition. Under the new criteria, veterans may be entitled to a 10, 20, or 30% evaluation based on the frequency of symptoms. Therefore, the new rating criteria will always offer a compensation award. So, they're eliminating the 0. And if you have IBS, you can automatically get a 10% at a minimum. They've also added a 20% in there, and they have kept the maximum at a 30%. So that's also great because now you have a 20 that's in there as an option, and they've removed the 0. So anybody who is currently at 0% for IBS, once this goes into effect, they will absolutely need to file for an increase, because they will automatically be pushed to a 10% at a minimum. All right. Finally, VA addresses the evaluations for both internal and external hemorrhoids. Previously, VA assigned a 0% evaluation if the condition was identified as mild or moderate. For more severe findings, a 10 or 20% evaluation was warranted, with the new rating criteria set in the rating schedule. Mild or moderate hemorrhoids will now qualify for the 10% evaluation. These are just a few of the changes being made to how conditions of the digestive system are rated based on updated medical information, said Undersecretary for Benefits Josh Jacobs. The updates will bring the rating criteria more closely in line with the stated purpose of the rating schedule, which is to provide evaluations based upon average impairment of earning capacity for each and every veteran. There is no... Okay, this one's important, so stick with me. There will be no change to any veteran's current ratings based solely on these updates. If you currently receive compensation for a service-connected condition, you can apply for an increase in that compensation. A reduction in evaluation will only occur if there is improvement in a disability sufficient to warrant a reduction under the former criteria. So, if you're already rated and you think you're going to be able to get an increase and you file for an increase and they don't give you the increase, they're going to look back at your old rating schedule, and if you're still where you're at, they're going to just leave you there. They're not going to just reduce you. They're going to use the old rating schedule to look at that on, okay? Claims related to these body systems that were pending on May 19th, which is basically everything that's filed now or has an intent to file now, is going to be pending. For example, here we're at the beginning of May already, so if you were to file a claim today, beginning of May, they're not going to have it decided by May 19th, right? So it will be pending. So any claims related to the digestive system that were pending on May 19th will be considered under both the old and the new rating criteria, and whichever criteria is more favorable to the veteran will be applied. This is all on the Federal Register as well. You can visit that website for a full list of the conditions impacted in the schedule change. and VA benefits for more information or to apply. And as a side note, since September of 2017, the VA has updated the rating schedule for 9 body systems. So there's, I think, maybe 14 or 15 different systems. They've updated more than half already. So the rest will come. With that, thank you so much for watching. I appreciate you. Have a great one. And remember, if we don't take care of each other, something went wrong.